Yo, can you hear me?
There he is, the
What's up,
man of
my
the
man?
hour.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm hanging in there. How you been, bro? It's been a little while. I mean, we saw each other not too long ago before COVID. What was it at the Cymatics event?
Yeah, that was like right before COVID hit. That
I
was in
know.
like February, like a couple weeks before
Yeah.
the big COVID.
And then the world went to hell.
Yeah, man, crazy. How you
How
been,
you
man?
I've been good, man. Just staying busy, trying to work on as much music as possible, try to always trying to build my business and that kind of stuff. But I see you've been doing well. You got some splice plaques back there. I see
Yeah,
that.
man.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got you got a lot of splice.
yeah, man.
Damn.
Yeah, just
That
working, man. You know how it is. Just doing
yeah.
our thing.
Yeah, speaking of splice and the sample packs, bro, you've been killing it. Just what are you on, like drums that knock volume 80?
Yeah, I'm on 3,000 right now. No, I'm on
3000?
number 9 right now.
Jesus Christ. That's
Yeah, man.
so that's been going well.
Yeah, I never thought when I started doing this production stuff, I'd get into sound design. So it was kind of like just an unexpected thing, man. But it's a lot of fun, and I just like being able to give back to producers, give dope sounds to producers, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past about how you kind of craft your sounds from scratch, but like, how did the whole sample pack thing start for you? Was it just something that you fell into just being a producer and enjoy creating your own like sounds?
Yeah, so what happened was in the early days, I heard a lot of people arguing about like Ableton versus FL, and I heard a lot of people say Ableton doesn't smack like FL, FL just knocks and this and that. And I was just like, how is that possible if it's a DAW? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just kind of started like messing around with the sound engines and just trying to like to see if it's true, if Ableton doesn't knock as hard as FL. And so like just going in on that deep dive, I started to create like my own sound with the drums, and because I was trying to make them knock, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then I started using them in my production, and it just gave me like a different sound. So I think that was the beginning. It was just people were talking about DAWs, and I was just like doing a lot of testing, and I kind of came up with my own formula. And so
Hmm.
I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just try putting out a kit, see if some producers will vibe with it, and it kind of took off from there.
Your drums have always slapped, bro, but like I don't know what you do with your processing or how you I've heard little bits and pieces of what you do to get your drums just smacking, but is there like a secret formula for you? Like, is there a go-to thing, or is it just case by case? You kind of tweak it how it needs.
There, some of it is a formula. There's, I've talked a lot about like soft clipping, saturation,
Right.
you know, making sure, like, in Ableton, there's a volume meter, and in Ableton 10 they added, or Ableton 9 they added like RMS metering, which measures like the perceived loudness. So there's like how loud your sound actually is, which you can't go above 0. Like 0 is the max for all audio.
Yeah.
But when you play with things like soft clipping, even compression, saturation, you can push the RMS metering closer to zero,
Yeah.
and that gives you a louder perceived sound. So I could take a kick that hits at 0 and a kick that also hits at 0 with a louder RMS, and it'll sound like 10 times louder.
Got you.
So, so that's part of it. But then again, it's case by case, because part of it's not just, I think people like drums that knock, not just because it's super loud, but it has like its own texture, because I'm running it through analog gear, and
Yes.
just doing different things to affect the sound.
Yeah.
So I just have a lot of fun with it. I become like a scientist with this shit.
Yeah. How hard is it to find the sounds that you sample? Because I saw some pictures that you've posted on social media of like all these different ethnic instruments from around the world. Like, where do you find this shit, bro?
Yeah, man. So I found a lot of stuff locally in the beginning. Like I started getting into, just collecting percussion a while ago.
Right.
And I remember I just started going to thrift shops around San Francisco
Mm,
and just picking up a lot of stuff. Then I realized I was paying way too much for it. Like it, it's really overpriced. Then I started
at
like
the
going to
thrift
Guitar
shops.
Center. They had like, yeah, the thrift shops. They are actually overpriced. Maybe it's just a San Francisco thing,
Yeah.
but I ended up paying a lot for it. And then I went to Guitar Center and picked up some of the stuff they had there. And it's pretty limited what they have.
Right.
And when I took a trip to in 2017, I took a trip to Tunisia in Northern Africa, and I went to Algeria in Northern Africa, and I went through the thrift. I don't know if they're called thrift stores, but like the different street shops around there, and I picked up a lot of like just weird percussion, like handmade stuff. Um, you know, and I have some Indonesian percussion. I started buying some stuff online, so it's just been like anywhere I can get my hands on stuff. Vinyl. Now I'm not really sampling off vinyl. I'm sampling off. I'm collecting rare percussion to sample. So it's.
Right.
Can you see me okay?
Yeah, I see you. It's
Connection okay?
kind of like it's kind of breaking up in and out, but we're good. We're good.
Got you. I was on Wi-Fi. I connected to the direct
Oh
plug-in.
yeah, yeah, that's probably what it was then.
Okay.
No, we're good now. We're Gucci. Um, so out of all the sounds and instruments that you've collected over the years, I guess what's the craziest sound that you have? Like, do you have it in your studio that you can
I
show
do. It's
us?
in the vocal booth now, and I probably have to dig through to get it. But it's like I'm gonna actually like post a video up about it.
Yeah.
It's like this like I don't know what the hell it is, man. It's like a wooden piece that it has like a string in the middle, and you squeeze it. So and it's like a bow, like a pluck sound. When
Yeah.
you squeeze it, it messes with the tension of the string, and yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a weird ethnic sound. I'm gonna definitely post about it.
Where did you get that one from?
Where did I get that one?
Thrift shop?
I think so. I might have got it online. I can't remember.
Huh.
Can't remember where I got that one. I don't even remember the name of it. I'm gonna look it up and post about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to hear. Have you already like sampled it and put it in your
Yeah,
packs and stuff?
I think it's in volume 8. I think I sampled that one in volume 8. But I have like weird stuff too. I have this like this it's this wooden piece with like a mallet on the side attached to it, and like you like open and close your mouth and play it on your cheek, and it gives it like this weird tone. It's so weird, man. I got these weird instruments. I have like jaw harps. um
A jaw harp? What the hell is that?
it's just crazy. It's hard to talk about without playing it.
Right, right, right.
I have this thing that's like it's like this wooden turtle attached to the string, and this wooden pole that when you turn it, it has like this clicky sound. And when I recorded it, it reminded me like an old school West Coast banger for some reason.
That's hard.
There's
That's
all these
tough.
weird little instruments I've been collecting, man. But I just say to anyone who wants to collect, just collect weird shit and just play with it, have fun. There's really no limits. Like there's just so much you can do with collecting sounds no one's heard. There's just so much you can do with it to incorporate into your sound.
Yeah. And then shit, they can make their own drums that knock sample packs.
Or make their own sample pack, not drums that knock, but
Yeah,
some.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, fucking lawsuit from Decap.
yeah.
Um, so what was the craziest song? What was the biggest song that you've heard your drums? You were like listening to it and you were like, "Holy shit, that's my sound or that's my snare."
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like the first time I heard a track, a big song that sampled drums that knock it was like right after I released it. Is this guy Niall Horan? He put out a song called "Slow Hands." I think he's from One Direction or something like that. And
Oh yeah, yeah. I was like, Is that dude from One Direction?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. He put out that song "Slow Hands" and it was big on the radio that summer, and it was just like the bump, 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 woo, and that woo is me. I just recorded that on the H5 in this room, just and threw it on a kit, and it ended up on the radio. So from there, I've a lot of times people will DM me and just send me like, "Oh, I heard your sound or your shout or your snare in this track," and they'll send me a link. So, since then it's been on like Jay-Z, on Beyonce, Meek Mill, Eminem, Logic, all over the place. And I'm at the point now where I can't always tell when, people use the drums, but it's kind of taken on like a part of music. Like I think like,
That's got to
part
still feel like good though, right? It's got to still feel crazy when you hear a sound that you made or that you recorded in that room being played on this huge record. That's still like even years after, right? It's still got to feel pretty fucking cool.
in the beginning it was a trip. It was just like, holy shit, like this is it's getting out there.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, like I'll be listening on Spotify, just like listening to new music because I try to keep up on like new releases. And I'll just hear my shout come out of nowhere. I'll be like, oh, whoa. And at other times I'll put a song aside, I'll save it, and I won't know why. I'll just be like, yo, I like the sound. And then I'll go back and be like, yo, that's totally from Drums and Knock Volume 4 or
Yeah.
7 or something. So it's kind of like I feel like my sound has kind of blended in with what's happening now. So it's not as like alerting. It's kind of like just a part of the landscape, you know?
Yeah.
So it's cool though. It feels rewarding and I appreciate it. And more than anything, I love, putting out stuff that the producer community finds valuable. And I love getting messages saying, hey, your drums changed my production and took it to the next level. Like that always feels good.
Yeah. No, I have a lot of your packs, mostly from Splice. I think most of them are on Splice by now, but like, I've been a long time Splice user, and every time that new drums that knock drops, gotta cop the whole pack. Usually I'll like go through packs and just like pick and choose the ones that I like, but I swear to God, the last one that you dropped on Splice, I just went straight to download all and like downloaded the entire pack, bro. So
I appreciate
um,
it, man. Thank you.
yeah,
There's
for
a lot
sure.
coming from you, man.
No, for sure. Um, what was I gonna ask? Oh fuck, I had a really good question. Oh yeah. So do you ever wish, with your sounds being all over the place now, have been on big, big records, do you ever think to yourself, damn, maybe I shouldn't have made it royalty free?
Never. I know that's been a conversation. A lot of people have been, debating, the royalty versus royalty free.
Yeah,
And I do understand it. Like I can understand how a producer will put out, a sample and be like, man, I wish I charged a royalty.
yeah,
Here's my take on it. I have actually dabbled with, putting out royalty stuff and royalty free stuff. And I'm fine that the royalty based stuff doesn't have as far as a reach with my audience than the royalty free stuff. I feel like royalty free stuff, as a producer who wants to be in the give, I feel like royalty free stuff really just gets it out there. It allows people to use the kits, to start talking about the kits. And the revenue generated from selling 5 million royalty free downloads, I mean, it's probably, you know, in ways it could be better than getting a bunch of massive hits. Like
yeah,
I don't know for sure, but I kind of had to make that gamble, and I'm really glad I did because it's made drums that knock, a common name, a standard in the producer world, and there's really just no behind the scenes crap that needs to happen. Like
right.
I don't need to deal with following up on lawsuits for people who stole my samples, like I hear a lot of guys doing, and it makes it easy. It makes it in the give, and then I can just be in my abundance, just giving more sounds. And it's not that I do everything royalty free. My sample packs are royalty free, and then I still collab with other producers, and we share royalties because we're collaborating. And I think that also with Drums at Knock, it's also given me as a producer the ability to, you know, get my stuff out there. So now I can reach out to another producer and they've heard my kits already. So to collaborate with them is now really easy. So I do understand what people are saying about that. I just don't agree personally.
Right, right. Plus, if you sold as many sample packs as I'm sure you have, I'm sure those checks got to be nice, right?
Yeah, it's been really good, and it's allowed me to keep doing it and also focus on my production. It's allowed me to when you know, as a producer, a lot of times we're confronted with deals with you know, maybe we start working with an artist and they're like, oh yeah, we'll give you a really low amount for one of your beats. But when you're broke, you have to say yes. You're like, yes, I'll take that because I need that,
Right.
even though I feel like I'm worth more. It's given me the opportunity to turn down those insulting deals because
Yeah.
I'm making plenty of money from, you know, publishing, from sample packs, from everything I'm doing. And I own my career. Since I own my career, I'm able to turn down those things that are just not in alignment with what I'm trying to do. So I feel like as a producer, whether it's sample packs or selling beats or whatever it is, just to find that thing that gives you that steady income so you can focus on creating all the things that you want to create and
Yeah.
being able to say no to things that are insulting.
Yeah. It gives you the freedom, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Well, that's dope. I mean, that's like, that's the dream right there. Is I feel like most people are actually, you know, the freedom is more rewarding a lot of times than the money. Like the freedom to just do the things that you enjoy doing and not have to stress about money. I mean, they go hand in hand, but yeah, that's a big part of it. I feel like. Let's talk about the business side a little bit of selling sample packs, and I don't want to like get in your pockets too much, but as an independent producer or any producer, an upcoming producer who's creating sample packs, uh, obviously you started, I mean, you just kind of created your own sound, packaged it, and what was the next step? Like you put it up on Shopify? How did you start to get to the point where you were making sales consistently and got to fucking volume 80?
Yeah. In the beginning, I did volume one, and you know, I work with a graphic designer to do the cover.
Uh-huh.
You know, it was all an experiment because at the time I had just heard other kits from other producers, and you know, and so I was like, okay, I want to do it my way, and so you know, obviously organize the drums in the folders. I'm real meticulous with it, so I made sure it was labeled right. There was no like pops or clicks in the beginning or end, and the sound sounded like as good as I wanted for my ears.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time, you know, getting the sounds right and getting the labeling right and the organization, and everything. And then I just uploaded it. At the time, I was using the service called Selfie or Selfie,
Yeah.
and I put it up on there, and you know, honestly, pretty much immediately, the sales started coming in pretty consistently, which
Really.
it surprised me. I think it was just because
It was unique.
yeah, it was a unique product, and just that you
I
know,
gotta
drum.
say the way you titled it though, drums that knock, I think that's the first thing that jumps at you because at the time, if I remember correctly, at the time no one was really doing sample packs that were focused so heavily on like drums that knock. You know what I mean? So you really took that lane and just ran with it. And I think that's why probably it was so appealing to producers because they were like, they knew what it was right away. You know what I mean?
Totally, I appreciate that. I think another thing, there was already so much conversation in the producer community. Like, you know, I find one thing about producers is sometimes they'll have magic thoughts about what is making their sound the way it is. Be like, oh, it's that limiter. Oh, it's this program I'm using.
Yeah.
I just wanted to take all that shit away and just be like, yo, just load these up. You can use fucking GarageBand if you want. It's
Yeah.
you're gonna be good. It's all about having good samples. It's not about the program you use, and they're all the same.
Mm.
So, you know, that's I think that was the appeal. Like I wanted everyone from, you know, a pro to a beginner to be able to load them up and just have their stuff sounding great.
Right. Right. Okay. So you put out volume one, sales start coming in consistently.
Yep.
And then did you kind of have a moment where you were like, oh shit, I'm onto something. And then you immediately start working on volume two, or what was that transition like?
Exactly. I think because I saw it starting to do well and producers talking about it, it just kind of gave me the invitation to just keep going with it, keep getting better, keep making the kits better. And so what's funny is volume one, I did pretty quickly. Every kit after that was like incrementally taking more time to do because I always wanted to make the next kit better than the last. So I spent infinitely more time on two, infinitely more time on volume three, volume four. And has gotten to a point now where it was less of like a product idea and more of like, I want this to be a work of art. I want this kit to be like, you could take any kit out there and put it next to it. And this is it's gonna be different. It's gonna be really different. And it's gonna have its own energy.
Right. That's dope. That's what's up, man. I'm super I'm happy for you, bro. You're kind of you've to me, you're like a great example of how you can innovate a lane that's already crowded and still be successful. You know, it's just about figuring out what your thing is or what your lane is, or just making a great product at the end of the day. I always tell people that it's like people want to know how to get more followers, how to get, fans. And I'm just like, at the end of the day, you just gotta have a fucking good product, like good music. You gotta have good content. Whatever it is that you're doing, you just good samples. That's really where everything starts from.
100%. It's totally about that. And the thing, and I like what you said, just having a good product. If you, I see a lot of people doing, um, you know, copycat products. It's like the same thing that's already been done.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is it's nothing new and innovative, so it doesn't give your audience like the incentive to pick it up. So
Right.
I think that's the name of the game. Having a good product, whether it's like something new and different or just something that's been done, but making it your own or doing something that is completely new. I think that's the key. I think you nailed it with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit, man. So would you say you've made more than more than half a million off of your sample packs?
Oh man, I don't know, to be honest. I'd have to look into it, but it's been really good. Um, and I've gotten 5 million downloads. So
On
and, and
like
that's like
total?
including that, yeah, that's including like individual sounds on Splice and the packs and things like that. So it's definitely been good. I can't speak on how much, I'm not exactly sure, but it's
Jesus
been real
Christ.
solid, man. It's been real solid.
5 million downloads. That's wild, bro. Um, so would you recommend to a new like sound designer who wants to start getting their sample packs out there? It's a different game now, I feel like, as opposed to when you started doing it, because now we have platforms like Splice. Splice might have been around when you started too. Uh,
Yes, Place was real early in the game, I think, when I came up with the kit. It wasn't like a staple like it is now.
right.
But I started working with Splice in the real early days. Since like the first two kits. So yeah, it's crazy to see how Splice just
Yeah, they've definitely penetrated the market in terms of like sample packs and loops and that kind of stuff. Is there one that you prefer over the other in terms of like just selling on your own or going with Splice, or do you like the combination of the two?
I like the combination. I approach it like when I put out a kit, the place it lives is, on my store. Like I always release it first on my site, and then over time I spread it out to all the platforms. So maybe producers who uh, don't know about my site, or want to dabble into the kits, they can download a couple sounds on Splice to try it out.
Mhm.
But I always like, whether it be on Splice or on my site, I like when producers hear the entire kit as a whole, because it has like a theme to it. It has a cohesiveness to it, but there's no denying, everyone's on Splice, and I appreciate even if someone were to find one drum loop that they use, but hopefully they hear that drum loop and they're like, yo, this stands out from all the other noise. And then they download, the whole thing. The whole,
Right, right. No, that makes sense.
yeah.
Um, Dope, man. Well, let's talk about. I saw recently, which by the way, my intern Ty sent me a list of questions to ask you at some point. Um, and so I was reading some of the questions, and I wanted to go back to your Instagram to kind of like look at one of your posts. I think it was the Nike commercial thing, and your Instagram, your IG wasn't coming up.
Yeah.
And so
So
I was like, at first, I was like, hold up, did Decap block me? I
dude,
seriously thought you
I've gotten
blocked me
text
at
messages
first.
about I've gotten text messages about that over the last couple days. I think either my Instagram got hacked or disabled or something. I have no idea, but I'm working that out with IG. It looks like there's some kind of problem.
Damn.
So that's gonna, and that, gets me to a segue, and I just got to be honest about something.
Yeah.
It really pissed me off when my Instagram got disabled or hacked or whatever. And
Yeah.
what it made me realize is ownership. Like, we have to really own our platforms.
Mm,
We don't have control over these social media platforms. If you're used to posting on Facebook, Instagram, and everything, that's great. But the end goal has to be to convert your fans, your customers back onto your platform,
100%.
whether that be email addresses or something to do with your platform. Because look at MySpace, it's gone.
Yeah.
Instagram, my Instagram is gone right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it back, but it's gone for the moment.
Right.
So, but it's crazy. It just makes you think, like, it's all about owning your platform, and
Yeah.
this is a hard lesson for me, for sure.
Yeah, I always say that owning the communication between you and your audience so important, because something like this happens, I'm happy to know that, after that happened, I asked my girlfriend, I was like, baby, go to Decap Music, see if it comes up on your Instagram. And for her,
Bro,
she was like,
I've been getting text messages about this, man. Like, someone, like this artist that I work with was like, yo, what'd I do to you, man? I was just like, nothing, man. My Instagram's hacked, bro. Like,
I was like, there is no way in hell
no, bro.
Decap blocked me, because we about to do a podcast. He didn't say shit
Can you
to me.
imagine? And I
Like,
don't show up to the podcast. I'm like, yeah, I'm just ghosting you, bro.
exactly. And so I was happy to know that you, like, your Instagram was deactivated, or
Yeah,
I'm
man.
not happy, but like that you didn't block me. You know what I mean?
Right,
Um,
right.
I hope
No,
you get that back, man.
I hope I get it back just to let people know that I'm not blocking them, Like, it's not good.
Yeah,
That's
facts.
all good.
Facts. Well, I hope you get that back. But yeah, owning the communication. I'm sure you got a shit ton of like emails though from all the sales that you've made over the years, right?
That's the thing. Like, even before this happened, like, I, especially lately, I've realized, I've had an epiphany that I can't rely on, these social media platforms to house my entire brand and my
Right.
livelihood. So I collect emails, I collect phone numbers. I have a text community.
Yeah.
So, these are all things outside of social media that you can do to leverage your brand, because if something goes down, you got to be prepared, and
Huge.
it will go down. Like, whether it's now or later, everyone's shit is going to go down at some point.
Yeah. It's just a matter of time. So has that been a big part of your new kind of release strategy? Is that when you have a new pack coming up, you'll like text everyone and let them know like, hey, this is out, go cop it right now?
Yeah, I have an amazing community of people who are a part of it, and as soon as I have like a new song, I'll like send an early release to my text community. When I have a new pack or like a new video, I'll send like an early viewing to the text community.
Yep.
And I'll give you the number too, so maybe you could show it or something like that, or I could read it off.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Um, Hold on one sec. Yeah, so it's been amazing because it's also more intimate. So it's like instead of the DMs, I don't always see DMs. Someone can text me, and chances are I'll see it.
Right, right.
I always forget the number though.
Is it with
Oh, I got it here.
community?
Oh, what's that?
Is the service community?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Dope.
So you can text me at 323-310-4079, and it comes right to my phone.
There it is. So we just text whatever, like we can say what up decap and it'll
Say what up, Decap. Just anything, anything. Let me know your favorite kit.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay. That's dope. We'll make sure to share that somewhere on the page.
So
Um,
appreciate it.
yeah, but talk about how the opportunity with the Nike commercial came up because number one, that beat is fucking sick, bro. Like
Thank you.
that shit knocks so hard. No pun intended, but like shit knocks super hard. How did that opportunity happen?
So I connected through to Nike. I actually got an email from this marketing agency that works with Nike. Shout out to 100.
Hmm.
And they connected the dots. So they started telling me about the project. And at first, when I hear about a new project, I'm all like, are they going to try to have me make like some pop sounding beat or something like that? So I told them, I was like, honestly, I don't really do these kind of things unless it's like I can do my sound.
Mhm.
So they said, "Oh, no, 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 we totally want it to be your sound, your thing. We're aware of, knock and future knock and everything. And we want it to be your sound." I was like, "All right, cool. And let me hear more about it." So then they started saying that Mason London, who's an amazing animator, was a part of it, and we'd do a collaboration. And I love Mason London's work.
Oh,
So that was like a no-brainer for me. So I collabed with Mason. How it worked, it was pretty easy. Like he made an animation for different versions of Nike sneakers,
yeah.
and I saw it. He sent it to me, and I loaded it up into Ableton and scored it. So I made the beat around the video. I had like little effects come in when the animated character was doing stuff.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I scored the whole thing in Ableton. It was a lot of fun, man. That was a
Wow.
that was a great one.
Was it a pretty easy process? Like, were there many versions of that, or was it just like, hey, here it is, and they were like, dope, this is perfect?
It was kind of like that. I mean, they ended up liking it right off the bat. But I think one time, because I'm kind of known to do like wonky shit in my production, but I kept it pretty chill
Yeah,
on the first one I sent them because I didn't know how crazy they wanted me to go.
right.
But they were like, "Yo, just go crazy." And so at the end of it, I just went crazy with all the rolls and all the crazy shit.
Yeah,
So there was like two, maybe three versions. It was pretty straightforward.
and it turned
It was a
out,
lot of fun.
yeah, no, it turned out fire, bro. Is this something that you would like to do more of, like the scoring and that type of thing?
Man, I enjoy it. I would definitely do more of it.
Yeah,
Definitely. I haven't been chasing those kind of opportunities, but if they come my way, I'm totally down.
right. Sure, bro. That's dope.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the questions that my intern sent me was I'm trying to decide which one I want to go to, but he said ask him about the rap group. So you used to
Yeah.
be in a rap group?
I was in a rap group back in when I was in like ninth grade. I was in a rap group called Young Tribe. And that was like the very beginning. And we used to record on like 4-track tape decks, and it was like the early days. That's actually what got me into production,
Mm,
because we needed beats. So then, like throughout high school, I worked with like a lot of different rappers, and I built up my skills as a rapper. But I was always like a producer first, but I like to flow. So
yeah.
we'd freestyle. You know, that was just the thing in high school. I was kind of known for freestyling in high school.
Wow,
That was
that's
kind of my thing.
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was a producer, like people knew me as a producer first, but they were like, damn, he can rap too. And so we'd be in, I remember being in Nashua High, 11th grade. And I was known as a producer. I would work with all the rappers in school. I was like really popular for being a producer. Like I was never like a popular kid, but as a producer, it was just like,
Yeah.
wow, everyone knew Decap. So one day I was in a lunchroom and it was like a battle. This rapper was trying to test me.
Oh
And so
shit.
I just was like, oh no. And I went, wow. I pulled out all the punches. The whole, like, I was in one of the biggest high schools on the East Coast. Nashua High was a huge high school. I had the whole lunchroom surrounding me, like, oh, the lines I was saying and shit. So I really went in at the time.
Damn.
And I actually still rap now here and there. I just released a song with Jonathan Stein. He's now called Charles Jacquez, called "Which Planet Are You From?" Where I kick some bars.
No shit. Is that on
Yeah,
Spotify?
it's on Spotify, and also "It's a Bounce." I'm rapping on that one too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did
So
not know that. So you have music out there right now that people can go to
new
Spotify
music
and like
too. Yeah.
listen to.
Check out "It's a Bounce." Check out "Laid Back." I did the chorus on that. Check out "Which Planet Are You From?" I'm still kicking bars here and there.
Damn, that's crazy. I'm gonna listen to those as soon as this is
Okay,
over.
go, go, go.
Um,
I'm not doing like the battle rap shit, but I'm doing more like some new vibey shit. So
yeah, that's crazy. Would you ever consider like going heavier with the rapping and being an artist and that whole thing?
I mean, anything's possible.
Just depends
Anything's
on where it
possible.
goes, right?
Yeah, I think like I always have thoughts about making more songs, but you know, songwriters put in so much work into this. It's so much development to get good.
Yeah.
And production is my forte. That's where I've reached my mastery, you know, my 10,000, 20, 30, 40,000 hours of this shit. So, um, as far as like rapping, songwriting, I always have fun doing it, but I don't know if I'd take like the rapper route or the art or the songwriter route. I do release my music as an artist. So like for
Yes.
me, it hasn't been about placements necessarily, even though I have a bunch of placements. It's been about releasing my music under my brand. So whether I sing on it or it's just an instrumental or I work with another artist, it's still me.
Right.
So that's kind of the approach I take with it.
I feel like I feel like understanding how an artist moves, even down to the branding and their presence on social media and the content and the aesthetic, I feel like that really, really helps as a producer too, to understand the artist, you know, because I come from this a similar background. Like I used to rap when I first started making beats. I didn't know any rappers, so I started rapping over my own shit, and then that kind of took me down just a crazy, you know, wormhole of, you know, performing and recording music and learning to like put my shit out there. And this was back in MySpace days. So like I took those same principles that I learned into my production career. And then I just started surrounding myself with a whole lot of artists and I saw what they were doing just on the marketing side, but like, you know, creatively and like how they were getting their stuff out there and creating visuals for it. I feel like that really helped with me being a producer because now it's like we almost are artists in a lot of senses and you know, with creating Future Knock, which is what we're going to get into that too, but like has it helped you in getting your brand out there as Decap the producer?
100%. I think on that side of things, like what inspired me was there was this wave around like 2013 where a lot of producers were releasing music as just instrumentals, and I was like, even when I was shooting for getting placements and all that kind of stuff, like I always loved just vibing to my beats and just listening to just instrumentals. So when I saw that happening, it made me realize why not just start putting out more stuff with less lyrics
Mm,
to see how it does. So I think that was kind of the beginning when I first started, seeing that wave happening.
yeah,
And then like I started to think like, why not treat it more like how artists treat it as releases and all
yeah,
that kind of stuff. So then like my Spotify started going up.
yeah.
And what was crazy is even as my Spotify started going up, like one of my placements recently was off of a track on Spotify. He heard it, Joyner Lucas. He heard the track
Oh,
and it made it to his project. So I had a couple. I did the first track on his project and the last track, the
shit.
508 project, and the last track was actually a release I put out, and it was my release called Wake Up. So I have that song living in two places. I own the song on my page, and I have a song with Joyner Lucas that you know uh, we're
Damn.
collecting royalties for.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So how does that work then? Because you still have that instrumental up on your Spotify page, but it's also the beat behind Joyner's song, but they
Right.
both are on Spotify, right?
Yep. Yep.
So so did you sell the master to that music when Joyner copped it, or what was?
I did, but since it lives as a different composition,
Right.
because it technically is different. It's not the exact same thing because they made some changes to it,
Got
and
you.
so I still own the master to that, and and I still have the placement over there. So it's
Hmm.
two separate situations.
That's really interesting because I do see I follow this one person on Instagram and he's always talking about like releasing instrumental albums as a producer. Um, and I guess that's the whole thought behind it is that if someone comes around and they hear your beat on Spotify and they want to come scoop it up, then you can still have the master of your beat, but then also like sell them. That's interesting.
And
Okay.
then at the end of the day, it's about getting creative and making sure your lawyer understands
Yeah,
what you want to do and make sure you communicate that. And
for sure. For
yeah.
sure. So talk about Future
What's
Knock, bro.
crazy is that one that I just want to say, and what's crazy is that instrumental. When I look on my SoundCloud and on Spotify, I mean, it has probably between the two of them like a 500,000 plays. So
Oh,
that's not crazy. I have stuff with a lot more plays, but it's cool that it lives in two different worlds. Like Joyner Lucas's world's very different from Decap's world.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Talk about Future Knock. How did that start, and what's the vision for that?
So Future Knox started because I had a SoundCloud show, if you want to call it that, where I just found producers and producers submitted music. In the beginning, I was just finding producers that had like, they used drums at knock, or they just had like hard hitting stuff, just stuff that I liked, and I put together a SoundCloud episode. And then I opened it up for submission where producers could send in their own music, and I would just make these episodes every couple weeks or every month.
Yeah.
And it just kind of started doing its thing on SoundCloud. I'm at the point right now where I'm looking for a new platform to kind of house that, and also looking to expand it to more than just instrumentals, but full songs, like maybe get like a radio show,
Mm.
I'm still trying to figure all that out. But Future Knock, it kind of just started becoming a thing on its own.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I hear you say somewhere that that's also your label?
So my label is called That Knock.
That no.
And
Okay.
I was actually, this year has been like a reconfiguration year. I'm thinking about how I want to have Future Knock out there. And at first I was like, Future Knock is now called That Knock because
Hmm.
I didn't want to limit it to Future Knock,
Yeah.
the idea of the future.
Yeah.
But what I realized was Future Knock is its own thing, and I can't stop that. Like it already has almost come to the point where it's become a genre. So I can't just
Right.
change the name of it. I kind of put it out there and I have to see it through.
Right.
So Future Knock is a part of That Knock, which is the label, which just became official this year.
Got you. Got you. Have you started signing anyone, artists, producers to your label?
I've been talking to some artists, but nothing is official yet. I'm just taking it slow because I find that when you jump too quickly into things, sometimes you can burn out. So I want to make sure I have a really good plan with how I can help these artists before I move forward. I don't want them to just sign to something that isn't fully set up yet. So I'm in the process of fully setting it up. And when that time comes, I want to have like a really solid infrastructure for artists to get their stuff out there.
Right. Right. Do you plan on signing producers as well?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I plan like, and the other thing is this pandemic has been crazy, man. I had gotten a house in LA, like an apartment,
Oh
and
shit.
and it was going to be a production house. Like every room was going to be like a studio. It was a beautiful spot. It
No.
had like a view, it had like a balcony, all kinds of dope shit. It was in Mount Washington, which is my favorite neighborhood in LA.
Uh-huh.
It was all set up. I was in LA right after I went to Atlanta. I was in LA. It was a week before the pandemic hit. I put the deposit on the spot, and boom, pandemic hits. And so I found a replacement, since I was renting and I got out of that situation.
Mhm.
But it was a bummer, man, because that was going to be like the beginning of the start of the label, and it was going to be a production house. I had a vision to have a bunch of producers come through and just make music all the time.
Yeah.
Um, but things change and you just got to pivot, and there's always gems and even situations that seem negative.
Yeah. Fuck, man. That's
Yeah.
a bummer. So you were planning on picking up and moving to LA. Uh, do you still are you're in New York right now, right?
I'm in San Francisco, and
Oh, San
I was gonna
Francisco. Yeah, 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 yeah. My
I
bad.
was gonna oh, no problem. Yeah, I was gonna keep my spot in SF and have the spot in LA be more of like a production house. I'd live there sometimes. I'd have producers come through. Um, I even had a roommate who was a really dope producer. It was a whole plan, and it just didn't happen as planned, and that's okay because that happens. And I had to move on, and I think a big lesson for everyone, because everyone's going through this right now. It's not, oh, woe is me, like my plans didn't work. Everybody's plans are getting thwarted because of COVID. So it's all about in that moment when your plans get thwarted, like how do you pivot? What can you control? Focus on what you can control, not being a victim.
Right.
Because there's always a way you can elevate yourself and you know make progress even when things get shifted.
Yeah. No, that's hella true. Because I remember before COVID, I was doing my whole Sound Advice tour, and the
Right.
tour was going really well. I had like 10 more dates set up for the tour, and tickets, cities were selling out. Boom, and then COVID hit, and I had to basically announce that the rest of the tour is postponed. Um, and I just came straight back to Atlanta from Seattle, I think was the last spot that I was in. But yeah, it sucked. And And then I was like, you know what? Since everyone's attention is online now, this might be an opportunity in disguise for me to build a more online platform. So then I launched Sound Advice Now, which is kind of like the online course and tutorial space. So, you know, it's like you said, it's all about pivoting.
Right. And how has it been going for you so far? Like,
It's,
switching to the online format. What have you seen?
it's been really dope, man. I mean, I've been I've been, you know, utilizing the online space for a while now, back when I first started Beat Club, which was like my online producer mentorship program, which eventually merged with Music Entrepreneur Club, Dame, DJ Pain One, and all that. And then I left that situation to start the Sound Advice brand. But it's been dope, man. I mean, you know, you can't deny the opportunities that are available to producers now because of the internet. And I feel like if you're not taking advantage of that space the way that you've done with your sample packs and that whole thing, and Fusion Knock and like everything else that you're doing to build your online presence, like you're just missing out on so many opportunities. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. The internet has completely changed the game from when we started producing.
Yeah.
Um, it was much harder to wrap our heads around how to make it all work, especially for me because I was living in New Hampshire at the time. Not just me, but anyone who lives not necessarily in a major hub in like New York, LA.
Yeah.
It's very it was a challenge to make it work. Now with the internet, you can be in Alaska and
Yeah.
make this shit pop.
Yeah. Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. But I will say I don't like, I guess it's just different, like engaging with people online, you know, through Zoom calls or through webinars, whatever. It's just not the same as doing it in person, obviously. I prefer doing in-person events. I know a lot of producers are like antisocial, so they don't really like doing in-person things, but I like doing the events and like meeting people face to face, having real discussions with them, and like, you know, this person will come up to me and they're like, "Yo, Kato, I follow you on Instagram," and I'll recognize them or I'll recognize their name, and then I get to put a face to the name, and we just have like cool conversations. You know, it's just a different dynamic, I guess. But I feel like even with your shit, like, were you doing pre-COVID any live events or anything like that?
Yeah, I wasn't doing any kind of like tour live events, but I would do pop-ups where like I'll do like I did like the San Francisco Music Expo,
Yeah.
and like even things like that we did together when I was out in Atlanta, which was another pop-up thing that Cymatics did.
Mhm.
Um, just like pop-up stuff, because I'm like you, I am not I I wouldn't say I'm not an introvert. I'm not really an extrovert, but I do like being on stage. I like talking. I like
Yeah.
connecting with people. I'm not shy, um,
Yeah.
but I enjoy like I feel more comfortable on stage than I do in the crowd a lot of times.
Right. Right.
So I like that aspect of it, and I miss that because that was a lot of fun. Um,
Have you ever thought about doing your own events, like a Future Knock show? I don't know, where you like DJ your own kind of in-person beat set, and then maybe do, you know, a Q&A or something. I don't know, but I'm
yeah,
sure it would be dope.
I have thought about that. You know what's interesting? When I first got into music, like I used to try so many things and just dive into a lot of things. And I'm at the point now where I still try things, but now the difference is I'm more slow to try things because I want to think it through
Hmm.
and understand as much as I can. I know a lot of people say just try tons of stuff.
Right.
And I think there's merit to that, but there's also merit to keep on doing what works and try to think about the things that will produce the best results. So
Right.
I have thought about that, but I want to make sure that all the cards are in a row before I get into that.
Yeah.
because
Well,
I want to have. Mhm.
it's also dependent on like what stage we're at, because
Right.
we're at a stage in our career where if we're gonna do something, it's gonna be strategic. Like we're not just gonna go out there and do
Exactly.
shit like how we did in our 20s.
Right.
That was a different time. That was a whole different type of energy.
Totally.
But I'm the same way. If I'm gonna do something now, it's got to be calculated. It's got to be planned out. It's got to be strategic. What are the trade-offs? What are the pros and cons? What am I gaining from this? What's the long-term plan? Like we're at a different stage. So I totally get that.
Yeah, it is interesting because I had to slow down quite a bit because I used to be like trying all kinds of stuff. And I think that's important when you're in your 20s or in the beginning
Yeah.
because you want to get data, what works and what doesn't work. I
Mhm.
found myself like getting more and more calculated as I get into this because we have more data now. We've tried more things, we've saw what works, what doesn't. And with that, I like to add, I'm saying this for myself. It's always good to go out on a whim and try new things sometimes because you can be surprised. Um, but I'm always, thinking through like, okay, a lot of people are jumping on Twitch. Is that really the move right now? Do I want to do that? I
Right.
want to understand the platform first. I want to know like how does it work? Like
Yeah.
what are all these things that they do? What is that subculture? And then like I weigh it into like how does that come in with the overall vision of what I'm doing? Like, will that advance my career in the ways I want to, or is it a distraction?
Right.
And I think, being in my 30s, that's something that I give a lot of thought to.
What's helped me uh, just not just be more strategic, but I guess take my career and brand to the next level and think about things differently is having a team.
Yes.
Just having the right people around you who are equally as good at what they do, and like forming Megatron and just everyone putting our heads together, our different skill sets together, and executing on these things. It's like, bro, once I started seeing the potential of having the right team around me, it just changed my whole approach to my career, because now I know, it's not just me doing everything myself. There's a limit to how much one person can do. And I'm sure you know this, but like I hit the ceiling. I hit a ceiling of how much that I could do on my own. I was producing all my own beats. I was like trying to scale all these different parts of my business. And I would say up to that point where I was booking the Sound Advice tour and doing everything and all of that was done by me. And I just got so overwhelmed, and I was like, man, fuck, I need to start I need to start building a team because I can't do this on my own. And so
That's the point that I've newly hit. Like last year, I hit that exact point that you're talking about. And I started building my team actually very recently.
yeah,
And it's been just this year that I've been working with a team. I have a really good friend of mine who's also an artist who who has been, helping me review everything in my career. We talk nightly and strategically think through things and that's been really helpful because also at the point where I can't do it all myself
yeah,
and it's really new. It's a new concept to me because I've always had the idea of being an entrepreneur, being a solopreneur.
yeah.
But I've recently started building out that team and I'm starting to see the benefits of that.
Yeah. What would you say are like the biggest um I guess challenges or things that took you a little time to adjust to once you started focusing on building a team and not just being solo?
It's better in almost every way. I think one of the challenges is getting people on the same page because when like people respond differently to when a crisis happens, for example. So you have to when something negative happens, you have to manage people's emotional responses and things, which sometimes, it can be a challenge because you're responsible for more than just your own. Like, you might be going through something, then your team's going through something, then it's like, okay, now we're both going through something.
Yeah.
It's you have to be able to keep the frequency high because you're setting the tone.
Right.
So I think that's a challenge. I'm pretty new to it, so I'm sure I'll see, more as time goes on, but the benefit of it far outweighs the
For sure.
negative, because it's like, you, instead of just utilizing your own mind, you can utilize other people's genius at what they're talented at doing.
Mhm.
So I'm in the process of building it out more, and I would say, like, the most important thing is working with people that you trust,
Mm.
and that understand what your goals are.
Yeah.
Those are a couple things, being new to the whole team thing, that I'm starting to learn about. What about yourself, though? What would you say are the challenges and the benefits?
I was just thinking about that, bro. I think for me, just overall learning how to be a leader, which is weird, right? Because it's like I guide people on social media and I give all this advice and I talk about all these things, and like people tell me all day long in my comments and DMs like, "Yo, Kato, I look up to you. You're my mentor. I learn all these things from you." But it's like when it actually comes to building my own team, I still have to learn how to become a good leader that knows how to listen to other people's ideas, knows how to create kind of a structured environment and systems of like how we do things and how we work on things. Like that took me, and I'm still learning right now, but it's like knowing how to do all those things so that you can be the best, most communicative, most efficient leader that you can be. um, and and like keep your team motivated and inspired. It's like, especially during COVID times where we're not able to do what I originally envisioned for having a team. Like I have a video editor and I have a videographer. My original idea was to bring him on the Sound Advice tour with me to capture all this content and then to edit it. But now we can't do that. So now I'm like, all right, well, what can we do outside of that that's still going to keep you busy and motivated to continue working? So it's just like, overall just learning how to become a leader, because we've been solo for me, I've been solo for like 14 years. So learning how to delegate responsibilities to other people, and just how to communicate with people. So now we do like weekly team meetings and we powwow on like ideas, and it's just like a lot of different things. It's a learning curve, man.
Right, right. I appreciate that. It's cool to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, always having, because the thing is, when you have a team, you're able to take on more because you're not responsible for every last detail.
Yeah.
So being able to, and this is all new for me, very new. So I can actually do more shit,
Yeah.
and I can, delegate, more tasks to my team, because if I don't, then, I might not have enough work for them.
Right.
So that's actually a perk. It allows you to do more because you're not
Exactly.
responsible for every little detail of it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to end it. But like, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, bro? Shout out to all your platforms.
Yeah, man. So I'll give people the text again. You can
Yeah.
text me directly. It's 323-310-4079. I give out, you know, early viewings of videos, early listenings to songs, coupons, free giveaways, all that kind of stuff. So that's one. All social media, Decap Music. Um, yeah, all social media, Decap Music. And also Drums That Knock. You can check it out at drumsthatknock.com. If you haven't heard Drums That Knock yet or haven't got any of the kits, there's a free kit up on the website.
Oh, and I hope you get your Instagram back, bro.
I will. It might take a few days, but I will get it back. So I'm assuming by the time this drops, Instagram is gonna be good.
Hopefully, hopefully.
Hopefully, fingers
There it
crossed.
is, man.
Hey,
Decap.
Hato, I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, man. Anytime. It's always a pleasure. And let's definitely keep in touch.
For sure, man.
All right, brother.
Peace, bro.
Peace.